We're up to the Charlotte Hornets, and I guess the big question is, can they stay healthy? Can Lamelo Ball stay on the court? Can Braino and Miller stay on the court? Can they get more than 26 wins this season? Let's have a chat about it. G'day everyone, and welcome back to the Ball Logic Fantasy Basketball Podcast. I'm your host, Braino, and I'm with our, should we call you the Charlotte Hornets correspondent, Josh?
Yeah, I guess. For people that probably are more familiar with me are wondering how did I end up on here, it's probably a cameo that they didn't expect to happen, but no, good to be here. Good to talk about the most mentally numbing team in the NBA.
It feels like it, doesn't it? I know you're, obviously a Hornets supporter, and it's been a rough few years, I guess, when you get Lamelo Ball in the draft a couple of years ago. You're thinking, things are coming up, Millhouse, and the blokes struggled to stay on the court, which I guess is the theme of today, isn't it, really? Talking about the Hornets, I guess it all hinges on Lamelo Ball's health at the end of the season. Yeah,
I mean, I feel like we've had our balls bounced pretty badly in some draft lotteries. We were number 2 in the Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes. Obviously, there was a chance we could have got the 1 pick last year and captured the flag. But yeah, overall, like we're not bad enough to be the worst team, but we're not good enough to be like a playing team. And yeah, we've just been sort of shafted a little bit with draft lotteries over time. But hey, it's a lottery for a reason. But we're here. We're with another head coach yet again. We've gone through about 5 of those in 6 years. So, hey, maybe this is the year that we can have a 30-win season, which would be great.
Yeah, look, new coach, new team, new coach, new me. Let's see if Charlotte can live up to that. Obviously, guys, for those of you that have missed the team previews up till now, or team reviews up till now, we'll have a chat about last year and how they went and how we see them going this year. We'll also give you our predicted starting 5 for this coming season. We'll wrap up the signings in the off-season as well, and we'll be talking all of our top gun picks, the guys you're going to want to get in your first 3 rounds, those mid-range value guys, and your sleepers at the back end of the draft to keep an eye on. Let's have a chat about last year, mate, first of all. 19-63, finished with 14 in the East. Got yourself some lottery balls again. The 4th pick, you got Con Newport, who I think is a sneaky good pick. I think he presents a little bit of value at the back end of drafts, but for Charlotte, I think he fits into the rotation really nicely. He gives you that option on the perimeter for Lamelo, and I think he's a really nice pick at 4. How do you feel about him?
Yeah, I was hoping that we got Con. Like, I would have loved if VJ Edgecombe slid, but I don't think he did. And with Ace Bailey sort of throwing his toys out the pram, I think all eyes are on Con. I mean, it was always going to be Flag and Harper, and then it was a case of whether they took a flyer on Ace Bailey, like if you take him at 3, and then obviously VJ slides. But as Ace Bailey sort of did what he did during the draft lead-up process, it sort of made it pretty simple. I'm happy with a guy that sits into our starting 5. I think he gets good game time. I think he plays the 2. So I'm really happy with it. I'm happy with the pick. There's a couple other like good guys we picked up. I mean, we picked up Tejuan Salone quite late in the draft as well. Sion James, like some decent picks like Kalkbrenner as well. Like it's fine. Like there's not much to get excited about when you have the 4th pick, but I think we did the best we did.
Yeah, and look, a lot of these guys aren't really going to present any sort of value when you're talking 9 category head-to-head fantasy basketball, but at the same time, you never know because, look, if injuries do strike again and we see a couple of your main guys go down, a lot of these extra guys that we'll probably talk about tonight are going to be, front and centre and definitely screaming up boards and awesome waiver pickups. I think when the time comes, hopefully it doesn't come to that for yourself as a supporter, but as a fantasy basketball person, there's immense value if one of these guys goes down. So let's have a chat about that. I guess we can probably start with our Top Gun picks to kick things off. For me, it's Lamelo Ball, obviously. I guess the one thing is injury risk. There's a massive ceiling on Lamelo at the moment, and I think, when we look at the ADPs currently, one ADP is at 51. He's being taken at 51.4 ADP on ESPN. And then he's being taken at 25.9 on Fantrax. And I think that's probably way more accurate than ESPN is. I would be looking to take him in the teens, I think. I'd probably be looking to take him as a bit of a flyer at the end of the second round in 12-team formats. Where do you take Lamelo this year?
Yeah, I mean, looking at the combined, it's 37 to 38.7. I think that's heavily skewed by the 50s, which is just absolutely crazy. Look, I play fantasy sport as best case scenario. I don't really plan for injuries because what happens if it goes right? And I think if LaMelo played 65 games, he's a top 16, 17 option. Like, he's probably like mid-second, back-second kind of option. Like, the question is, how much is he really injured? Like, I think that the ankle concerns at the start of last year were real. But at the back end, like, when your win total's less than 20, like, why run your injury-riddled star into the ground? So, look, the concern, like, not the concern, but the question is, like, how much last year of the game times missed was really injury, and how much was the team just being like, look, we're just going to shut you down. So, look, if we can be somewhat competitive, if we've got, if we come to like the final 20 games of the season and we've got 30 wins, like, I can see where we play out the season with him, and they're the key times. That's where your championships are won. Like, you're not playing garbage time players and G League players. So it's really about how Charlotte goes. I think depends on LaMelo's stocks, but best case scenario, I think he could easily be like a 16, 17, 18 kind of operator in the ADP land.
And we talk about, taking him at 15, 16, 17. He had the number one usage in the NBA last year. That 35.7, and that is, ahead of Luka Doncic. It's ahead of Shea. It's ahead of Giannis. It's ahead of Paolo Banchero, Zion, like all of these guys that just demand the ball in their hands. And, when you look at a guy that has the ball in his hands that often and is able to generate the counting stats that he can, his rebounds were down last year as well. He had 25 points per game, 4.9 rebounds, which is definitely unders, probably at least 2-3 under what we'd expect from him. He's usually a kind of borderline triple-double guy for the most part. And then 7.4 assists last game. He had 1.1 steals as well. Field goal percentage is probably where it hurts you. I think if you're taking LaMelo Ball in the second round, you've got to make sure that you either have a real solid guy, like potentially a big, maybe you're pairing him with an AD in the first round, someone like that that's really not going to hurt you in the field goal percentage, or you're punting field goal potentially the whole season. His free throw's fine, but I think you'd be punting field goal percentage at a 405 is putrid for any player on the court, let alone a player that has that much usage and takes that many shots per game on volume. 21.3 shots per game is the same as Shai Gilgeous-Alexander last year. So I guess when you're putting up those kind of numbers, he's got to fit a certain team build, and I think it's either punt field goal percentage or you've got to have a real solidifying field goal percentage guy in round one.
I fully agree. It's a good point you make up about the rebounds as well. Like, we have one of the worst bigs rotations in the league, so I think that does help. Like, LaMelo is a very big guard, so I think the rebound numbers will increase. But yeah, it's a really good point on efficiency. He's not the most efficient with the ball in terms of a shooting aspect. So if you are getting a very inefficient first round pick, he pairs very well, because you just give it up, but you're going to be winning points. You're going to be winning assists. You're going to be winning probably rebounds if you're getting them at a decent level from LaMelo as well. So yeah, I don't think you can go in between. I think your first round pick really depends on what you do with LaMelo. You can't really play halfway house with field goal efficiency, in my opinion. So you've got to make a hard decision in round one if what you do.
Honestly, I can see a world where you could go Trae Young into LaMelo Ball this year and just go, you know what, free field goal percentage out the window. See you later. Don't worry about that this year. And you can go, I know I've got points and assists locked up in my first 2 round picks. So there's a world where you can go around that. But yeah, look, LaMelo, I'd argue that if you're not taking him in the first 2 rounds, you're not taking him at all. Some of you might not want to take that injury risk on as well, which is completely valid. But if you're an upside guy and you're punting on ceiling and you're wanting a guy that could win you a league, LaMelo Ball is the man to win you a league if you can stay healthy. Let's have a chat about those mid-range picks.
And it's crazy. Your opportunity.
There is a fair few of these guys in this team. Those mid-range targets, we're talking around that 50 to 120 in the draft. Braino Miller, probably the first one comes to mind. Is he going to take a leap in year 3, I guess, is the main question. There's scoring, there's efficiency upside. He's pretty efficient with the ball. We were talking beforehand, you think his assists probably take a hit because the usage comes down if LaMelo stays healthy, which is a pretty good point.
Yeah, not even that. Like, it's the acquisition of Colin Sexton, it's Spencer Dinwiddie, it's Trey Mann. Like, we've got so many guards. And we'll talk about like the best 5 for Charlotte, but there is probably a couple of names that have to be cut. I think we're sitting over the roster limit at the moment, so there are some guys that have to be cut. But Yeah, look, I think like Coach Charles Lee, he comes from a Budenholzer. He comes from a Masula coaching tree of we're just going to shoot a lot of threes. Like he's going to get a lot. He's going to get probably another. I think he averaged like 11 threes last year a game, shooting at like 35%. Like we want that to come up. We want it to come up to like a 38%, which I think he definitely can do in his third year. I do worry about the twos if they do come down because he's so good on the catch and shoot. I also worry about the assists. I think it comes down. I mean, this year being drafted combined between Fantrax and ESPN at 72, last year was 62. I don't see a huge amount of value in him. I think if you're getting him in the mid-70s, that's great. I wouldn't be going any higher on him just because of I think he's going to become more catch and shoot, less dominant with the ball in his hand, even if Lamelo goes down. Like I said, we've got 1,000 guards to replace that with, and I think the assist numbers do come down. So he's probably there or thereabouts, but I'm not going out of my way to reach for him.
Yeah, finished the 75th best player last year. I think there is definitely an efficiency uptick this year. I think with the ball in his hands a lot less. I think he does. It probably helps him in that category, but at the same time, you're looking at those counting stats potentially coming back a little bit. So, yeah, much of a muchness. I'd probably take him in the 60s. I'm pretty happy to take him maybe early to mid-60s. But, again, he only played 27 games last year. So that's the risk that you take. Another guy that potentially, has a couple of injuries under his belt. You want to make sure that he's healthy for the season. So,
and by this stage of the draft, you've got a pretty good idea of where your cats are sort of sitting. So if you do need threes, I think he's a great guy because I think he'll probably have an uptick with his 3-point percentage and either hover or stay the same with his 3-point sort of volume overall. So if you're looking for threes, I think he's a great pickup there. But yeah, I think all the other counting stats are probably going to take a small dip.
Yeah, absolutely. Miles Bridges is another guy I think I'm keeping my eye on. I think there was a couple of seasons ago when he was, career best kind of stats across the board. And last year we saw the flip side of that. We saw career lows across the board. I think he only had one worse season since his rookie season. So for me, I'm looking at Miles Bridges and thinking there's an opportunity for a definite uptick for him. I mean, he's being taken at 49 in ESPN and 75 in Fantrax at the moment. So I'd probably say somewhere in the middle there is a happy place to get him around that 60 mark. I'd be pretty happy to take Miles Bridges. I think he might fall a little bit, to be honest, because people will be a little bit scared off on the career low and that regression that he had last year. But again, we know how tied to Lamelo his statistics are. And I think the 1 year that Lamelo played the most games in the year, Miles Bridges, no coincidence at all, ended up having a career year across the board. So, I like Miles Bridges as a pick. It's more one of those ones where do you want to take the risk on a guy that might not have his left-hand man on the court enough this year?
Yeah, that's the concern. But if you're playing a 12 team, if you're getting him at the back end of the 5th, early 6th, which would be like your mid to low 60s, I think that's a fine pickup. Yeah, you're banking on Lamelo again. Like I play fantasy, hoping for the best. So you would I assume that Melo plays 60 games plus, which would therefore have an uptick for Bridges. So, don't mind taking him at the back end of the 5th, early 6th.
Yeah, for sure. Moussa Diabate is another one. The question mark is up in the air, I guess, for who gets the 5 minutes and whether it's probably split down the middle with Mason Plumlee and Diabate. So how do you see this playing out? Because this one's, I guess, the biggest question mark around this rotation for me is who gets the centre minutes. I'm probably leaning Diabate at the moment, but Mason Plumlee has a very specific role that he plays. He's actually a really good facilitator. So, do they need that on the court, though, with Lamelo? Probably not. So, for me, it's probably Diabate. Where do you take him?
I think Plumlee's got the best highlight reel centre bag playmaking compilation I've ever seen. He does some things. I mean, some of these like ADPs are wild. Like Moussa Diabate is going at 281 on Fantrax. If you're playing on Fantrax, snap that up 100%. 140 on ESPN, I think it's a bit high. I'm probably sitting somewhere around that like 160 range. I think he's our starting center. I think he plays 25, 28 minutes a game. He just doesn't do anything well. Like he does a lot of things, but like nothing fantastic. He's 6'9", 6'10" center. Doesn't rebound very well. Doesn't block very well. Isn't the greatest touch around the rim. But if you're getting a starting center playing 27 minutes a game at ADP 160, I think that's a fine pickup. And yeah, I think like Charles Lee speaks very highly of Moussa Diabate. Like that's the thing that I'm sort of looking at. I'd love for us to not start Plumlee, to be honest.
You need the backing from the coach, don't you? Support of the board. For me, it's his per game or his per minute stats are pretty ordinary. So I think he's a last round flyer. I think if you're playing deep, he's a great guy in a 200 deep competition. But that's pretty much where it ends. Another guy, maybe before we move on to these real late round sleepers, is Colin Sexton. What are your thoughts on him this year? Because obviously he's come across. He's going to demand some usage, isn't he? Like 27 usage last year in Utah, only one behind Jordan Clarkson. And for me, like there's his assist team up 4.2 assists. He's not usually an assist guy. 480 from the field and 865 from the line. He does a little bit of everything, but it's kind of like how many minutes is he going to get behind Lamelo? You've also got, like you mentioned, Spencer Dinwiddie there as well. That's probably going to find his way into this rotation at some time. Do they use him at the 2? Do they use him as a backup point guard? How do they use him in this situation?
Yeah, it's weird because like we've got Spencer Dinwiddie, we've got Trey Mann, we've got Pat Connaughton as well that can sort of play minutes at the 2. Josh Green's floating around to play minutes at sort of that 3 or even like a big 2 if we need to. I think Colin Sexton is a name. He's a guy that was good for fantasy 6 years ago. I'm not really looking at the acquisition as like any kind of merit. Like I'm not looking at being like, oh, Charlotte went out of their way to get him. Like we got a first round pick for taking him. It was Nurkic and Sexton and a first. Like I think any team would do that if you're trading away a guy like Nurkic and getting a pick for it. So I'm not really looking at that as like he's within the best 10-man rotation. Combined ADP going at sort of 125, and if we look at like individuals, it's probably skewed again. But I don't have a read on the usage. I worry about anyone not named Braino and Miller or Lamelo Ball with this sort of minutes rotation, and that includes Colin Knuppel as well. Like I don't think he's locked in for 30 minutes a game. And I just think for the ADP, I'm probably letting this one go. If he burns me, so be it. But for me, I think there's just better options at a similar ADP, like 118 on ESPN, 131 on Fantrax. If I can get him at like 140, sure. But I think people would probably draft on name value, unfortunately.
Yeah, 100%. And I guess that's a trap you fall into in your fantasy drafts is getting guys with a name that, might not have the best role. That might have been relevant 3-4 years ago, but definitely are in a different situation now. So I definitely wouldn't be banking on him seeing any sort of positive uptick this year. Let's have a very quick chat about these last round sleepers. Not quite the best, these guys. The best of the rest, we'll call them. Grant Williams, Con Newpel and Trey Mann are the 3 that are probably worth consideration at least at the back end of your draft, especially in deeper leagues, 200 deep potentially. Grant Williams probably won't be starting the season. It seems like he's not really ready to go for that with that knee injury that he had at the back end of last year. So I would say he'll be a streamer when he comes in, probably more like a stocks and threes kind of streamer guy. Con Newpel, definitely a 3 streamer. I think he'll come good, I think, after the All-Star break. Just got to give him some time because rookies are notoriously inefficient in year 1. So that's probably where I'm at with them. Trey Mann, he's a bit of a stat stuffer, isn't he? But it's more, if LaMelo goes down, I'm picking Trey Mann up straight away.
Yeah, 100%. Big off the streamers kind of guy. I just want to talk about Ryan Kalkbrenner. His ADP is 145. Cannot go anywhere near that. I think it's just a weight. Yeah, it's quite high. It's 141 on ESPN and 149 on Fantrax.
Holy fuck!
Crazy.
Yeah, right. No, you can't be doing that.
No, stay far away from that. Some other ones, like Con Knuppel is 144.5 and Kalkbrenner is 145. Like that's insane.
I think a lot of these guys as well, once you get to the 140s, it's kind of just becomes undrafted in certain leagues as well. So they just automatically put in 140 or 150 or 160 or whatever it is. So it could just be it could be 250. You just don't know. Yeah.
If you're playing like very deep, and I'm talking like 300 deep dynasty, Zion James and Tid James Salom, like I think they're guys to just chuck on the taxi, maybe amount to something, but like you have a question in the run sheet here about like how many assets are we taking, and it's really like 3 in terms of like LaMelo. Yeah, like I'm not overly keen on Miller at his ADP. You are a little bit more keen than me, but like Melo, Bridges if you expect Melo to play decent minutes, and then like maybe Con with a 144 ADP. Like if you can grab him around there, I think that's fine.
Yeah, for sure. That probably leads us into, mate, talking starting five, where we think these guys line up. Obviously, it's Lamelo Ball at point guard. I think either Brandon Miller at shooting guard or Newport at shooting guard, and then the other one at small forward. I'm not quite sure how they play that yet, but I would say one's at the 2, one's at the 3. Miles Bridges at the 4, and then it's a toss-up of Mason Plumlee and Diabate at the 5. I'm probably leaning Diabate, to be honest, and them using Mason Plumlee off the bench in the second unit to be that facilitator when Lamelo's not on the court. I think he provides much more value when Lamelo's off the court as opposed to on it.
Yeah. It's having a point center effectively. I mean, you've also got Plumlee there that's got a wealth of experience in the NBA to mentor guys like Diabate, who's 23, and Corkbrand, who's also, I believe, 23 as well. So it's good to have a veteran presence around there, guy with his head screwed on that can help these young guys. So I think I'm happy with that starting 5, and I do think Corkbrand will probably be playing bigger minutes post All-Star break, as you said, as the season wears on, especially if we do have a season as to what the bookies think, and we are sort of not great. Bleed some of these young guys at the back end of the season.
Yeah, I think the question marks are more around the second unit than the first, really, isn't it? It's like, where does Spencer Dinwiddie fit in? Spencer Dinwiddie's Colin Sexton and Trey Mann. There's 3 guards that fit into 2 spots. I don't know whether they're going to be going 12, 13 deep in their rotation either. I think they're probably going to be a 10 to 11 deep team. Maybe Spencer make that best 11, but there's a lot of minutes to go around. That means that probably hurts Trey Mann. It probably hurts Colin Sexton. I would assume that Miller and Ball are going to be playing 34 to 36 minutes a night. So there's just limited opportunity for any of these guys in the second unit, personally.
Yeah, we've got a big backlog at sort of the 3. We've got Braino and Miller, Josh Green, Daquan Jeffries, Liam McNeely, Simon James. I expect Daquan Jeffries to probably be cut, as I do Nick Smith. We're 2 over the threshold, which would leave like Lamelo, Colin Sexton, Dinwiddie, KJ Simpson. I think KJ Simpson is just going to sit at the back end of the bench. Josh Okogie as well. I think anything that was going to come from his career would have come already. So, I think Spencer Dinwiddie can push himself into that sort of 12, but it's can he push himself into the 10, which is the key thing. So, look, I expect the second unit to look something like Sexton, Trey Mann, Josh Green, Grant Williams, and Plumlee, I guess.
Yeah, that's probably where my head's at as well. And then, it's probably, Dinwiddie, Mann, Sexton sharing the 1 and 2 through different minutes and rotations combinations. So, last one, mate. What do you reckon? How do you reckon they go this year? What's the over-under on the wins?
Bookie's got a 26.5. I think we smash the overs if you tell me that Melo plays 60 games.
Yeah.
If you don't. Look, I don't think this win total is close. I think it's 17 or like 34. I don't think it's anywhere near 26. But the problem is it's like you've got to put a number on it. If
they're healthy, let's just say they're healthy, I reckon you're pushing 35 to 38 wins. And I think that's a pretty good spot to be. The problem is Lamelo's, even in the games Lamelo's played, he hasn't been a very well-known winner. He hasn't carried his team to wins. He's great at accumulating stats, great for fantasy basketball, but not great for winning. So it'll be interesting to see whether that changes this year if he's on the court or not. Mate, thanks for joining me. That was fun. That was good.
Mate, all good. All good.
We'll have to get you back.
Punt efficiency, punt rebounds, target 3-pointers for the Charlotte team.
Love it. Love it. Thanks for joining me, mate. Guys, hit the subscribe and like button if you like the content. We've got plenty more preseason content coming your way over the next 10 weeks. Keep an eye out for the next one. We'll see you then.